In 2011, North Carolina lawyer Frank Abrams brought this ferrotype photo, an image produced on a thin sheet of metal, for $10 in a junk shop. Abrams hung it at his home, on the wall of a spare room that he rented out through Airbnb. He didn't know who was in the picture and hardly thought about it, seeing the photograph as a depiction of unknown cowboys. With his guests, Abrams joked that one of those guys was Jesse James, the famous American robber who was killed in 1882. Frank was not far from the truth. The photograph indeed depicted a legend of the criminal world, although he had a different name. Henry McCarthy, later known as William Antrim, William Bonney, and Billy the Kid, was born in 1859 in New York. Later he moved to New Mexico with his mother, stepfather, and younger brother. At the age of 14, Henry survived his mother's death. At 16, he got the first sentence that he decided not to spend till the end. The young man escaped from prison through the chimney. "I could hardly put my fist through the hole that Billy used to escape," the sheriff later said. Once free, the fugitive moved to Arizona. Here, little Billy got a job on a ranch, began stealing horses, and committed his first murder. Soon after returning to New Mexico, Billy the Kid got involved in the Lincoln County War, the bloodiest conflict in the history of the Wild West, that started with the murder of Billy's employer, John Tunstall. The war dragged on for 3 years. Some shootings continued for days. During one of them, Kid's gang dealt with the county sheriff and deputy sheriff, who organized the murder of Tunstall. In 1880, not only New Mexico newspapers, but also the New York press wrote about Billy the Kid. Patrick Floyd Garrett was 9 years older than Billy the Kid. The age difference didn't get in the way of their friendship, but the circumstances did. Garrett decided to settle down and became sheriff of Lincoln County, New Mexico, in the fall of 1880. Having ended up on different sides of the barricades, Pat Garrett told Billy the Kid to leave New Mexico. Otherwise, he promised to fulfill his official duty. After the Kid refused to leave the state, Garrett's men indeed captured him. He was sentenced to hanging, but he managed to escape again, killing 2 deputy sheriffs on the way. Finally, chance helped Garrett to track down the runaway. The sheriff came to Fort Sumner Village, to one of the Kid's friends, hoping to find out something, and the Kid himself unexpectedly turned up there. It was at night. The encounter took place in complete darkness. The sheriff recognized his old friend by his voice and shot in his direction. Henry McCarthy was dead on July the 14th, 1881, at the age of 21. Billy the Kid's story is full of contradictions, so it is not hard to understand why some thought he was a heartless outlaw, and the others considered him a victim of circumstances, a pawn in the war of the rich and politicians. Garrett's act didn't receive unanimous praise in society. Many condemned the sheriff for this reprisal, where he outlined his version of events. It wasn't popular with his contemporaries, but it became a valuable document for historians. On July the 22nd, 1881, the New York Times published an article about the Kid's death. The journalist described him as a man with good manners, attractive looks, and angelical blue eyes, and so every person who saw him for the first time would think that he was a victim of circumstances. Nevertheless, the journalist continued to say that the Kid was one of the most dangerous characters that this country ever spawned. The article mentions that the Kid killed a total of 19 people. However, modern researchers think that this figure is exaggerated. Soon after Billy the Kid died, there were rumors that the killing was staged. Allegedly, Garrett, remembering their old friendship, helped Billy escape and cover his tracks. In the following decades, many men claim to be the surviving Billy the Kid. The discussion about his death continues to this day, In recent years, there was even information that the scientists were trying to obtain permission to exhume the body of Billy's mother for DNA testing. The portrait of unknown cowboys, purchased in the flea market, hung in Frank Abrams' living room for 4 years until he saw a documentary about an old photograph, valued at $5 million. It was about an accidentally discovered picture of a group of people playing cricket. The experts recognized Billy the Kid as one of the players. Previously, only one photo portrait of the legendary criminal was known. The picture auctioned for $2.3 million, where Billy the Kid stands with a carefree expression, leaning on his gun. Interested in this story, Abrams began researching Billy the Kid's biography on the internet and discovered that one of the cowboys in his photograph looked like Pat Garrett, the sheriff who shot Billy, and another man looks like Billy himself. Experts confirmed the lawyer's guesses. They concluded that the ferrotype was most likely made between 1875 and 1880, and further study showed that 2 of the men depicted there are Billy the Kid, on the left in the back row, and his killer, Pat Garrett, rightmost in the front row. People who sold the photograph to Abrams said they got it from a man in New York named Clinton. He believed that the ferrotype earlier belonged to journalist Marshall Upson, who wrote the book about Billy the Kid together with Sheriff Garrett. Supposedly, the image ended up in the northwestern USA with Upson's relatives, who were unaware of its value. The photograph that belongs to Abrams is probably the most expensive portrait of Billy the Kid, as there he is captured together with his killer. However, this picture's real price remains unknown. Frank Abrams didn't have his finding evaluated by experts, stating that he wasn't interested in selling it. According to Abrams, he just loves history and considers himself very lucky to own such an artifact. For over 100 years, dozens of books, songs, movies, TV shows and theatre pieces were dedicated to Billy the Kid. That's why all these photographs are so important and are valued so highly. It is not only about Billy the Kid himself, it is also about the legend surrounding his name that is an essential part of the Wild West mythology. As the lead expert of Kagan's auction house said, a real photo of Billy the Kid is the holy grail of the American West's history. It is useless to look for a room with Billy the Kid's portrait on the wall on the Airbnb now. Frank Abrams told the journalists that he took the picture off the wall and hid it in a safe. If you enjoyed the video, do like it and ring the bell so you don't miss new episodes of How It Was.